Well, welcome to another edition of OnPoint Live right here from the Manhattan Beach Studios. Hi, everybody. I'm Vince Ferragamo, former Los Angeles Rams quarterback. Alongside me is 20-year NFL legend and Hall of Famer Jackie Slater. And Jackie, Week 13 in the NFL. These games are unbelievable. We first have to talk about what in the world. What happened in that Philadelphia 49er game, okay? Let me set the situation what happened, okay? Dre Greenlaw, okay, the linebacker of the 49ers.
Very good linebacker.
Is running to the sideline, and he gets Devontae Smith, the wide receiver, and he wraps him up near the sideline.
Who is a small guy.
Who's a small wide receiver, could break for a score.
Right.
He's got to get him. There's no whistle blown.
Right.
They got to get him to the ground. So he flings him to the ground. And he's right next to the Philadelphia bench. Now, what in the world is a security guard doing on the bench, in the bench, with the players? And why is he saying expletives to Greenlaw?
Well, first of all, it was an aggressive tackle, but the referee didn't call the flag. You know, he didn't penalize it.
No, he didn't blow the whistle.
But when you're standing there and you see the violence of a tackle like that, you just kind of get caught up in the moment. And this security guy has been a regular on the Eagles sideline for a number of years, and he just got caught up in the moment, and he starts screaming at Greenlaw.
Yeah.
Well, Greenlaw is in a mode of competition. He's competing. He's fired up. And,
right.
And then there's a guy from the sideline in his face and yelling at him. Well, the first thing he does is he reaches out to punch him.
Why? Get out of me. Get out of my face. I mean, this guy's name is Big Dom. Okay,
yes.
Dom.
And he's
DeSandro.
Popular. He's a popular guy.
Yes,
in
but
Philadelphia.
Stand back. My take is they got to get these security guys off the field.
They'll back him up a little
Get
bit.
him all the way off.
He's a little too close to the sideline.
Come on, he has no reason to be. And this guy is like, hey, who is this guy? Coach? What was he doing on the side in the first place?
Exactly.
Get the heck. He was probably just trying to push him back.
Well, it seemed to me that.
If he wanted to hit him, he could have hit him.
Yeah, he could have hit him.
Okay,
but they both. You mean Greenlaw could have hit him?
Yeah, they both got ejected.
Yeah,
now,
they both got ejected, and that was the first time. It was a little surprising when I saw, them get the security guy out there because Vince, think about it. All the years that we played, we always had security guys up and down our sideline. They were always there. They escort the coaches out after the game.
Did we ever have a problem? Did we ever have an incident?
No, we never had.
I don't ever remember any incidents
like that. So it's when you just think about our careers, it looked like what Dom did here was over the edge.
I think so.
The security guy was yelling that close where he can yell at the player.
Back.
Get the guy an enraged competitor, even more enraged. That shouldn't happen. So maybe move Dom,
I think
Big Dom, a little bit further away from the action.
I think that whole Philadelphia side was up in arms because, man, the 49ers took it to them.
Oh,
I mean, they just blew them away.
It was ugly.
So it wasn't very nice there. But anyway, let's go back to our local teams here. The Los Angeles Rams played Cleveland here at SoFi Stadium. This was a big game. In particular, Puka Nacua has been playing lights out.
He has.
Here is a 5th-round draft pick, 177th pick overall, Jackie. Mm-hmm. He contributes to over a third of the total production on offense.
Over a third.
He had 34 yards rushing the football and over 100 yards pass receiving. The one pass that he ran a seam route that Stafford threw to him was picture perfect. I mean, it was a thing of beauty.
And he caught it in stride. He caught it in stride, Vince, and he never broke stride.
Yeah.
And it was just such a sure catch. I thought it was Cooper Kupp catching the ball. This guy's got, McVay, you got to give it to him and his general managers. They do They do a fantastic job of looking at the details of what skill people bring to the table. And one of the things that I've noticed about the receivers that they have on their roster, they can catch. These guys aren't just a bunch of guys that are former, that used to be, that can't catch. These guys can catch the football. They are very highly skilled in doing that, and that's almost before you get to how fast they are, how quick they are, and all of that. So it's impressive watching the Rams receivers.
It really is, and I had the great privilege of talking to the offensive line coach. Ryan Wendell was a big fan of yours, Jackie, and you're a big fan of his as well.
Of course I am.
And you know what? His diagram of these plays is something really spectacular. Okay, let's draw a play that Cooper Kupp has run, but now they let Puka run this play. It's a jet sweep.
Not only has Cooper Kupp run it, Robert Woods run it, and in every single year since they started this play, I think it was early on in McVay's career, they've given it to people that you wouldn't think would be able to have the success. But when we draw this play up, the fly sweep, you keep hearing us talk about the fly sweep. We're going to show you this fly sweep, and we're going to show you the advantage of running that play just on the alignment of the guy that's getting the ball.
Okay, we talk about stretching the defense, Jackie, in the passing game, but we can also stretch them here in the running game, and I think that's what they do here, primarily with a fly motion, which is a speed motion by a wide receiver, running quickly, and then you hand him the ball at full stride.
Right.
So we're going to diagram this play, okay? And we're going to move this down here. And this is a snug formation, which Sean McVay really likes to use. That's the center. Here's your line, offensive line, and we'll draw the Bears defense. Right. We have the tight end over here, and then now we're going to put 17. We're going to put Puka right here on the side, and we're going to put Cooper Kupp.
Put Cooper Kupp right there,
close by.
And then Tutu Atwell.
And we put him outside
out here.
Okay, so now we have the quarterback here. We're not in a shotgun, and we got a deep Tyron Williams.
And this back is sitting here about 7.5 yards deep.
He's deep.
Now, but before we go into you diagramming the rest of the defense, the significance, in my opinion, of this play has to do with where the ball carrier is located when he gets the ball. We used to run pitch, where we pitched the ball to Eric Dickerson. He'd run it out here. We'd set the blocks up in front of him. Then he'd make decisions from here.
Right.
We never run a play where we were inserting the ball from this shallow of a depth from the line of scrimmage.
Correct.
They're going to be inserting the ball into the line of scrimmage from 2.5 to 3 yards deep, as opposed to 7 yards deep. So go ahead and we'll show them a little bit later how this play
now their defense,
plays out.
And you remember Myles Garrett is right here. Okay, he's the outside end, so he wants to come here. And they're basically in a 4-down lineman. You have the other end is on this side. So there's 4 down linemen there. You have the corner out here. You have a nickel back that's here covering Cooper Kupp, because they try to cover with 2 receivers on an outstanding receiver. You have a safety back here, another safety that's over here on the tight end side, another corner there.
Right.
Okay, Jack, and
then
then we have
2
our
linebackers.
Yeah.
Both over the guards.
Yeah.
Sitting over the guards.
This linebacker here.
Over the guards, right here.
All right, and there's a linebacker.
Yeah,
okay.
they're sitting right over the guards there.
There's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, right?
Right. Now, the interesting thing for me, as I watch this play, the first thing my eyes go to is my position, Vince.
Okay, there you go. And he's right over here.
And I'm thinking, okay, well, how am I going to, if we're going to try to get the edge with Puka Nacua over here, how am I going to block this defensive end who's already got me outflanked? Well, this is what the Rams did.
Right.
They know that when this guy takes off away from this defensive end, that he's going to close. His job is to close and set the edge. So what they did,
that's through preparation and film study.
So
this is the way they diagramming the plays, how they want to get to the play they want to use.
That's right.
Okay.
So they think they predicted what he's going to do. And so what they did was they ensured that this action would take place by sending Big Rob Havenstein at 3:30
running
straight
down
up
the field
to try to block a safety. Now, what that told this defensive end that something is coming from here. And his job is to close and be firm.
Right.
Close and be firm. But the problem is, as he closed and was firm, nobody else blocked him.
And this guy was in motion.
And this guy ran right by him. It was a beautifully designed scheme, taking advantage of the predictability of how this defensive end was going to play it.
So this motion here, this jet motion is what we called, and the quarterback snaps the ball before he gets to him and just hands the ball.
Hands it to him.
In a full-out sprint. So he's past him before he gets there. He's gone already.
So the edge, they don't even have to worry about the edge.
And this back is moving left, is bringing this linebacker left. So now we had Cooper Kupp. He just goes down here and takes care of this guy.
All he had to do is
he ran him off, and then when he grabbed the ball, he took off.
And Rob Havenstein was down trying to block the safety. He didn't block him,
nice.
but that's who he went to get. Yeah. And these blocks right here are just cinchy. We call them cinchy. They're easy blocks. They're going to occur if the guy beats you semi-late. It's not going to impact the play because the ball carrier is inserting from 3 yards deep as opposed to 7 yards deep. Beautifully designed play, and when you use, a lot of people are using this play, Vince, but when you use it against how they're playing schematically is all the most important thing, and that's where Sean McVay's figured his stuff out.
In this running attack, stretching the defense wide, then now you can start to hit them up inside, and so that really kind of, it's like a counter action. So
it really is.
It's like a boxing match.
Right.
You know, I'm gonna
so
counter.
You hear us talk about fans hear us talk about fly sweep all the time, Vince.
Yeah,
and
it's very interesting.
To be able to show them that play and to see week in and week out, not week in and week out. We don't see that play every week. We see it in unique circumstances, and every time you see that play, Vince, you can bank on the fact that they've shown Sean McVay something that says, this guy this guy is not going to be a factor, and that's why we can run the play.
Yeah, and we're showing all these kind of motions too, because you don't even have to run off those motions. They are really a great way to get guys off the press coverage, and so you can free them up to run down the field to get open for pass plays, Jackie. So it all it's all incorporated in the game plan. Right.
It's a big picture.
Yeah, and then what was the result, Jackie? That was a big win for the Rams. The Rams are really coming. We thought that they were going to improve as the season went along.
Was that a 35, 40-yard run that Puka had there?
Well, he had total 34 yards. He had a good gain. It was a first down run anyway, Jackie. But big plays sometimes are just a culmination of everybody doing their job correctly, and then you're doing the play that you'd called that you knew would work and would be effective in your design.
Right.
Okay, and it helps your entire offense. So, I mean, I think all those put together. Then another local team, the Chargers, won a game too, Jackie. They were on the road. They had to go travel east to New England. Okay,
and I think you and I both probably picked the Patriots to win that ball game.
No, I actually
you picked the Chargers.
I
think I picked the Patriots.
No, I think you picked the Chargers. Oh no, you picked the Patriots. Obviously,
Matthew
would
never
sure.
Let me live it down
that's
if I picked against him as hard as he's fighting.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing about that game is during the modern day era, for the first time during the modern day era, we saw a team lose 3 straight games when their opponent scored less than 10 points in each of those games.
When they scored like 20,
27,
was 24 points or
26
something like that.
or 27 points
in 3 games.
In 3 games, which
that's
means
less than 10 yards.
It speaks volumes for the way the Patriots defense is playing.
Yes.
Volumes for that.
Where's the offense?
But where's the offense? It also speaks volumes for that if you can't score over 10 points to beat your opponent. So that was not very, and it was a rainy day and all that, but it was raining on the people from Southern California, the Chargers as well. So, there's no excuses for it. You just got to do a better job.
Right.
Okay, Vince, we got the college football playoffs.
Okay.
And a lot of people are screaming this morning from the highest mountains about the college football playoff committee, whether or not they got it right. Because what we're looking at Michigan at 13-0. They're going to play Alabama, who's 12-1. We're looking at, and they're going to play in the Rose Bowl. We're looking at Washington, who's 13-0, and they're going to play number 3 Texas, who's 12-1, and they're going to play in the Sugar Bowl. But left out of the picture is a 13-0 Florida State.
Yes.
Who are going to play Georgia, who's 12-1, and they are not vying for the national championship. So people are screaming bloody murder about this. And I don't know how you feel about it, but this is my take.
Okay.
If you have played a college football schedule, a top college football schedule,
Division One
schedule, and you have gone undefeated, that speaks volumes for who you are as a team. Now, I understand they lost their starting quarterback, and I understand that. And that could certainly devalue the expectation of you winning more games. But if you look at it on who they are and what they've done to this point, there's no way they should have been left out of the playoff scenario. That's my opinion, simply because of what they've done.
Yep.
Now, I know it's TV and all of that, but I just think those kids got the shaft.
Well, it's the first time that a Power 5 team has been left out of the Final Four, Jackie. And that's surprising because Florida State Seminoles, they were picture perfect this year. But when they lost their quarterback, Jordan Travis, it really now they're faced with using their second string, third string quarterback, which for Florida State is probably not that bad. But when you go to be matched up in the Orange Bowl, to play the Georgia Bulldogs, okay, who were beaten last week by Alabama by 3 points, which was the first time after 27 games they've been beat. Then they're favored by, Georgia's favored by 2 touchdowns. Then that kind of gives you some indication of how strong is Florida State. Are they strong enough to be the top 4 teams? Now, there's no question about Michigan, okay, being a number 4 team, and Washington, who are both undefeated. Okay, they have a couple of front runners at Heisman Trophy. But then you look at what Alabama did to Georgia, and they beat them. They were the number 1 ranked team in college football. So they almost have to be considered as a top 4 team. And then Texas, who's been playing lights out football all year long.
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, yeah, I can see your point. I can see where, why are they not rewarded because they had an undefeated season. But,
right.
The Final Four is picked because they feel that the 4 best teams should be in the Final Four.
Right. Well, so I can understand that, and I do see, perhaps what they were thinking, but I feel badly for those kids who put everything they had into this season, and they didn't lose a game. They were perfect. Right. And then they get the shaft like this. They don't get invited to the tournament to continue to win.
Let's see how they do in the Orange Bowl.
You know as well as I do that good football teams are comprised. Yeah, you got to have a good quarterback, but there's a whole lot more good going on other than the quarterback play to win these games.
And you got to have that coaching too. Well, let's see how they do in the Orange Bowl, Jack, because if they have a big win in the Orange Bowl, they're going to be a lot of second guessers for sure for this Final Four.
No
who do you like in the Final Four? I like Michigan. Boy, they're playing tough.
Michigan's awfully good, and I was listening
Washington's undefeated.
I was listening to Sarkisian down in Texas talking about we feel good about. I feel good about this team, and he was asked who would he prefer to play, and he said it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Wow.
He said I feel this team can play well against anybody. Now, that's saying a lot.
Yep. Well, any one of those 4 teams. I don't know, boy. I'll tell you what, they're all good teams. But is Alabama back? And the way they played against Georgia, they look unbeatable.
They look pretty good.
Awesome. Okay, well, we'll see what happens.
We're going to move on now. Yep. We're going to jump on down to Nebraska, your alma mater.
All right, let's go.
And the reason why we're going to do that is because your man, Matt Rule, the head coach down there, formerly from the Carolina Panthers, he came out recently and he said that from the transfer portal and the NIL opportunities that are being presented to these young players in college, that it would cost $1 million to $1.5 million to $2 million right now to get a competent, quality quarterback to come and play college football, for you at the Division I level. Now, Vince, think about that. $1 to $1.5 million to $2 million. That's more money than you and I made through half of our career. Think about it. That's more money than you and I made through half our career, and they're giving that kind of money to players in college to play college football while they're on football scholarships nowadays. Is that right?
Yeah. Jackie, I have a little problem with it because there's really no more amateur football that we're accustomed to. Now it's almost like professionalism being played at college level. And to win at all costs or to win at no cost, I mean, it makes it difficult to understand and to really think about college football. And I think the allegiance to the university and when you go to play, the fans and their connection with the players, and the players that play and they're connected with the fans, they play at the same school. They're all alumni. And so, to go into the transfer portal and trying to bring players in and pay players over millions of dollars to come play, I just think that we're losing the entire aspect of amateur sports in college football. Now, there's a lot of money that's generated, and money is important for all the programs. But football makes the most money of all the collegiate sports.
Correct.
And so they have to support other sports with all the programs that they have at their school. So I think that's important. So that money has to be shared throughout the entire institution. Mm-hmm. And I just think to see these players and these coaches make so much money, it doesn't seem right to me.
So does the money and the professionalization of the sport turn you off about college football? Do you still have that?
Well, I hope it doesn't.
Because one of the things that I remember vividly when I was in college is I watched, future Hall of Famer Walter Payton and future Hall of Famer Robert Brazile and Vernon Perry and as I Joe Laurie, as I watched these men compete, these young men like myself, and I learned it from watching them, these young people, they were looking forward to developing, they were working to develop their skills so they could play at a professional level and be paid like pros and have a professional career. I don't think there was any of us could even fathom that we would be on a football scholarship where they were handling all of our lodging, they were handling all of our books, all of our meals, while we were having all of that being handed to us to play football, and then on top of that, giving us $1 million to $1.5 million to $2 million to play our positions. That's what's happening now, and I think it sours in the mind and in the stomachs of a lot of former, college football players that didn't get to have that opportunity presented to them.
It's almost like a semi-pro team. It's almost like a farm system now, that college football, that you play, you get paid to play, and then you go on to the NFL. But Jackie, 98% of the student athletes do not go on to play professional sports. So what's the main objective to go to college is to get an education.
Right.
Okay, learn a trade, graduate with a degree, go find or go in business for yourself, create a source of income, obviously, that's away from sports, because most people are not going to play sports.
Right.
And so I think that's the key element that we're missing here, that the education, and sometimes education is secondary to sports.
Don't forget, education has its value, because your education that you get is going to take you throughout the next 30, 40, 50 years of your life, not your professional football career.
That's correct.
Or your college football career.
And nobody can play 20 years like you did. Not too many people in the world can play that long.
And with some of the repercussions I'm dealing with now, not too many people should want to play 20 years.
No, exactly. That's a long time to play. That's right.
Well, Vince, we also have some conversation that we need to have here about the Heisman Trophy.
Oh.
The Heisman Trophy is presented to the best college football player, in the country every year, and there's a lot of conversation now around who these people are going to have a chance to be Heisman Trophy winners. And one guy is Jaden Daniels. Now, Jaden Daniels, Vince, you look at his numbers. This guy has passed for 3,812 yards. He's rushed for 1,134 yards. He has 40 touchdowns passing and 10 touchdowns running. Now,
all around.
But Vince, his team has lost 3 games.
Yes.
His team has lost 3 games. Now, Mr. Penix at Washington, on the other hand, has only thrown for 218 yards. That's a lot.
Yeah.
33 touchdowns. He has 9 interceptions, but they never lost a game. Now, that's just 2 of the guys. There's another guy, Bo Nix over at Oregon, who lost 2 games to Mr. Penix at Washington.
Right.
And a lot of people feel like Bo Nix now is not even in the conversation simply because of those 2 losses to Washington. How do you feel about this, gathering of information to determine who the Heisman Trophy winner should be, and which one of these 3 guys, if you were to have to exclude one, would you exclude?
Well, Bo Nix, he lost to Washington twice, and he was one of the front runners as well. We also seen Caleb Williams having a great season at the beginning of the season, and they went on a losing streak. So he kind of was shuffled out of the top billing for Heisman. But now you're looking at these 2 teams. LSU is not in the Final Four, but Michael Penix is with Washington, and he's the front runner, I think, for this trophy. Now, is the Heisman Trophy winner going to be announced before the Final Four? I think before the final game, it's definitely probably going to be announced. I don't remember when they do announce it, but I think the way they play in these last few games, I think it might make a difference. But if you were to say at this point who would be the number 1 guy, I would probably have to say Michael Penix, because of what he was able to accomplish at Washington and win those big games, winning the Pac-12 championship, over Oregon. Oregon and Washington, both the top 10 teams in the country. And now being in the Final Four teams in the country, there's a lot of great players, Jackie, but when you consider a quarterback, you have to look at the entire package. What type of leader is he? This guy has another. He's a lot like C.J. Stroud with the way he approaches the game and his makeup. Okay, what he's got, because he's confident. Nothing rattles him. He doesn't get rattled, and he actually plays best in the last 2 minutes of a game. Wow. In the end of a game, he'll actually be at his best. And so that, to me, is a mark of a great champion, to be at your best at the end of the game.
So if you were to pick right now, just hypothetically,
yes,
I'm assuming that you're leaving Jaden Daniels.
I'll have to leave
all
Jaden
those dynamic numbers out.
Yes.
And so if you're looking at Bo Nix and Mr. Penix,
yes,
you're going with Mr.
Penix. Yes.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
I wondered how you would feel about that. Now, Vince, there's another topic of conversation that was generated this recently.
Oh, yeah.
Deion Sanders.
Yes.
Deion Sanders, who has probably been one of the most talked about coaches in all of college football for the last 2 or 3 years, he was just named Sports Illustrated Sportsman of the Year.
Right.
And he went over to Colorado, as you know, and right away got rid of 50 guys off the team right away, brought in another 20, I think, left the team. And he said that we are here, and we are going to be here, and we're going to compete. Now, they got off to a 3-0 start, but after that, they went like 1-8. Mm-hmm. And Deion Sanders, as I said, he won Sports Illustrated Sportsman of the Year.
Right.
How do you feel about that?
Well, Jackie, nobody in sports has invigorated a fan base like he has, okay, in Colorado. And he put them back on the map. Colorado was 1-12 before he took over that program. They were one of the worst programs in the NCAA college football. He invigorated. He brought back so much enthusiasm into that locker room and into that school. I was at that school prior to the season this year, and I could see the vibe. I could feel what's going on there in the bookstore with all these, we're coming to town, we're here, we're bringing.
Kind of brash.
Yes, and confidence, but not arrogance, just confidence, okay? And I was always admired the way he would handle his press conferences after the games. When they were winning and losing, he had a lot of dignity, he had a lot of class, whether they won or whether they lost. And when it got tough on that program, when they started going on a little losing streak, Jackie, he answered every question. Okay, he didn't abate anything. He didn't try to, change things around. He told it like it was. He was very honest, but he was very true to the fact. And I think when you admit, your shortcomings and you can build from those losses and those weaknesses, that's what makes a program going to be worth playing for, okay? And that's going to be something that's going to be definitely strong for in his case in the future years. So yeah, he is a little bit confident. He likes to bring his guys in, and all of a sudden to coach both his sons, Shadur and also Shiloh. I mean, that's tough to coach your own kin in football at this level. And you know what? He didn't have any favoritisms. Those guys are good. Those guys can play.
They showed
and so,
it.
For them to beat my alma mater, Jackie, Nebraska, Colorado could never beat Nebraska, and they beat them. They beat them handily.
In the past, back in the day.
It couldn't happen. And so I was impressed. But you know what? He had a tough schedule. They probably had one of the toughest schedules in the country to play. They had to go on and play SC. They had to play Oregon.
Right.
They had to play Washington. I mean, but Deion, I thought he did a great job. It's his first year. How many coaches can you go see turn a team that's 1-12 in their first year? Okay.
With that many new players.
That many players. I mean, he's got things to build on.
It speaks volumes. When he was at Jackson State, my alma mater, there was a great deal of pride.
Yeah.
People were very proud of him coming with his bravado and everything, and they won games, and he didn't have to run anybody off. They won. And then when he left, it was just like it was a vacuum, a big void for Jacksonians to see him leave. But, he went on to bigger and better things in his mind, and he was the same guy. He was the same guy at Colorado that he was at Jackson State. And I think, personally, it's just a matter of time with him getting particularly his offensive line squared away, because I think that was an issue for him, the big-time issue. Once he gets that squared away and gets some more big people coming to his program, who knows what he might get accomplished.
Well, great talents, Jackie, always like the challenge. Okay, so if you're a great mind, you want that challenge. You want to go up against the tough. You want to go up. You want to do more and more things.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I mean that's pretty awesome. Okay, we have some winners and losers this week. Jackie, are on point. Let's talk about first of all the Miami Dolphins.
Yes.
Okay, this team is what 9-3 now. They had a big win this past weekend, but Tyreek Hill and Andrew Van Ginkel are stepping up, okay, for this team. And a lot of people look at Tyreek and they say, is he as good as what I really think he is? And when you look, do you think this AFC team can win the AFC and go into the Super Bowl? I mean, with guys like this.
Well, Vince, you asked me that question, and, all I do, when I think of the Miami Dolphins, I think of my first vision is Tyreek Hill in the secondary, 5 yards into his route, and running away from people and looking for the ball. This young man is a unique talent. I think we need to go ahead on and all admit that. He's a very special guy. It's kind of like when Eric Dickerson came on. You had to agree with the fact that we had never seen anything quite like this. This guy right here is compact. He can change directions on a dime. He can catch a BB in the dark with shades on. And most of the people that's covering him can't run with him. He's a unique individual. And one of the things that I was going to ask you a little bit later on about him is that, it's been, I don't know what, a decade, a little bit over since we saw our last league MVP be something other than a quarterback.
Right.
I think this guy has got to be in contention to be the MVP of the league this year. He's on a record-setting pace, Vince. He might catch over 2,000
yards.
2,000 yards of receiving, and which is just think about that. That's amazing for a guy that's not even 6 feet tall.
Yeah, Tyreek Hill, Jackie, he continues to run past defensive backs like the Road Runner, leaving Wile E. Coyote. Okay, in the dust, all right? That's like 150. I mean, he had such a big game, but every game is big. And, a guy like Tua loves throwing to a guy like this. But I have to look not only at the players they have, but look at Mike McDaniels, the coach. And how much do you attribute, this coaching ingenuity of Mike McDaniels to the success of his quarterback Tua? Now, I think personally that has a lot to do with the way he's getting rid of the football. They talk about how fast he delivers the ball, how quick his receivers are to get open. And this is all done by game planning and schematically putting in an ingenuity of an offense that can fool the defense.
Right. Well, when you ask that question, Vince, I just can't give their coach enough credit. This guy, he realizes that Tua does a fantastic job of getting the ball out of his hands when he's got targets open in shallower routes. And so that's what we're consistently seeing. Now, the thing that complements that is the talent that they've secured around him. They don't have big, slow, lumbering receivers. Not that that's bad, but they don't have big, slow, lumbering receivers that can't make decisive, quick cuts and breaks and get in and out of their breaks and start looking for the football and then run after the catch. They got probably more run after the catch receivers than anybody in all of pro football, with Tyreek Hill being the best.
Even their running backs, Jackie. Even
the running back.
And the other running back they have, they're both fast.
They're all
they
fast.
Can break.
They're
they
quick.
can break
they're
quick
fast.
And
they're quick first,
yes.
And then they're fast. And then they're obviously smart players. So I have to give McDaniels a lot of credit for recognizing the talent that he has, the scheme that he wanted to put in, recognizing, and Tua is a talent. He is not a guy that you want to sit in the pocket, because remember we looked at it a few weeks ago and he had the quickest release time of any quarterback in all. It wasn't like he's holding the ball. He's throwing the ball quickly. And that's because the routes, the players are designed to get open quickly. and look for the ball
But that's
quickly.
smart. That's just smart football, Jackie.
but
because
that's
we
who
saw
Tua-
what happened to Tua last year.
That's who Tua is.
Right.
Tua
You've got to
is
get
not
rid of
a
the ball.
Sit in the pocket,
No.
read the defense, throw the ball.
And Mike McDaniels understands that. And he
Right.
put him in a position, a vulnerable position last year. He got hit a few times. He suffered some concussions.
Right.
This year hasn't been that way. He hasn't been hit.
Ball's been coming
They're
out.
not. It's gone before you can even get to him.
Right. And you know, another decision was made, in my opinion, with the transformation to Tua, and that is to go ahead on and pay this young man. Because a year ago, as he was holding the ball and sitting in the pocket and getting blown up, and you wonder about his concussions, you thought maybe this guy is not reading the defenses, he's taking too long to get rid of the ball, da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
Now this year, McDaniels realizes what his strengths are, puts him in a totally different situation. I don't think I've seen him get sacked.
No, I haven't.
I'm sure he's been, but I haven't seen him take a shot that would concern me. So the ball is coming out quick, the receivers are getting open quick, and now they got their franchise quarterback and their head coach. You know, those two usually kind of go together. You keep that head coach and that franchise quarterback. They kind of carry each other along the way. Well, and I think they got them both right now.
Well, you mentioned the term scheme, and I think I have to agree with you, Jackie. And the other teams that I see around the league that are scheming up with their head coach and their quarterback, obviously the 49ers. Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy. I mean, he's got a bunch of tools around him to work with, but they're scheming up plays. Okay, Lamar Jackson, with what they came with Harbaugh. John Harbaugh got his coach to come in.
The guy from
Georgia. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they have made a big difference in this offense. Okay, they're virtually to me, one of the toughest offenses to defend.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, another team is what DeMeco Ryans has done with Houston and C.J. Stroud. That's a very intelligent group of guys over there that are game planning each and every week, Jackie. Then you got Sean Payton with Russell Wilson. Here's another team that's coming on. They won 5-1. They lost last weekend, but hey, they're coming back. They're starting to make some progress.
Right.
And this is all happening behind the scenes by game planning and schemes, Jackie. And now you see what's going on in Green Bay a little bit too with Jordan Love. So I mean, there's something to be said about how you game plan and how you schematically design a offense around your skill position players.
Your talent.
So
a lot to be said for that.
And we're talking about DeMeco Ryans in Houston. Let's talk a little bit right now about the Houston Texans, about what they've been able to accomplish. They had the second and the third pick in the draft last year, and they really made those two picks count. Those are blue chippers. They got C.J. Stroud, the second pick, and Will Anderson, the outstanding rush defensive end from Alabama. Jackie, they're making a difference now.
They are.
So.
And it's just about that time for Will Anderson to come on, Vince. Listen.
Yes.
He had 2 sacks, 4 quarterback hits, a blocked punt, and a deflected pass that was intercepted last week.
He's a rookie.
The question was asked of me, do I think, if you were to look at a lot of the teams in the NFL right now, where would I rank the Houston Texans relative to being a team that was on and coming with the brightest future? Are they at the top of that list? And, I had to consider the Green Bay Packers, and how well they played as they beat Kansas City the other night. But if I look at what DeMeco Ryans has done, he's got a leader on the offensive side of the ball, young, confident quarterback in C.J. Stroud. And he's got a young, confident,
edge rusher,
athletic defender in Will Anderson to lead that side of the ball. And here he is, a young, energetic coach. I think the bright side for the Houston Texans is as bright as any team in all of pro football, simply because of the leadership on those teams.
Well, and those leadership are the leaders of the team, the quarterback, the head coach, and the defensive captain.
Absolutely.
Okay, so those 3 guys. They've got 3 top quality players that are first-year guys with Houston, and look how much of a difference. Some people say, how can I change this team around? Well, if you go get 3 guys like that on your team who knows football and can really make it happen,
there are going to be some changes.
There is something going on good right there.
Serious changes.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna be a Houston Texans guy for some time.
Yeah, how can you not?
All right, Vinny, I got to ask you a question.
All right.
Everybody's got one.
All right.
Lamar Jackson, he's got one.
Brock Purdy.
Brock Purdy's got
Oh,
one.
I know you're talking about.
Everybody's got one.
You're talking about tight ends, I bet.
I'm talking about an escape route.
Okay.
And that is, where do you go when you can't go anywhere else with a football as a quarterback? I mean, look at it, Vince.
That's your safety valve.
That's your safety valve. You got Ferguson with Dallas. You got Kelsey with the 49ers. Killer. Higbee with the Rams.
Mark Anderson.
Kittle.
Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews. For Lamar Jackson.
Absolutely.
He's hurt now, but
Kittle in San Francisco. We can go on and on talking about all these quarterback tight ends connections, including the one down there in Atlanta.
Right.
But this Sam Laporta, this guy's on pace to have the most catches for a rookie tight end in history.
Okay.
And Jared Goff is milking them dry. What do you think about those two guys?
Well, Laporta can play. He came from Iowa, and he's a top draft pick. I think he was the second or third pick in the second round. So he was the second pick for the Lions this year. And, Dan Campbell really has changed the culture of that team around. And I think with players like Jared Goff now, they can throw the football, and they're tough enough to run the ball against you. They've got Mims running the ball. I mean, he's sensational. But now you have the tight end.
This guy has caught 64 passes.
Sam Laporta.
64 passes. He had 9 catches for 140 yards last week.
Leading receiver.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
tight end.
And Jared Goff understands the value of a good tight end, because, like we mentioned, tight ends block.
Right. And he probably learned that from McVay.
He did.
Because McVay coached the tight ends at Washington before he came to the Rams.
Right. And so the importance of that position is paramount, because they can block, they can become a pass receiver, they can use a disguise, they can even screen to tight ends. They can do everything a wide receiver, a running back can do, and a lineman. They're all in one.
All in one.
And so if you have that position and you have somebody now, some teams will use 2 or 3 tight ends. They employ those regimes. So that's even more powerful.
Right.
And that's what's coming, okay? But Detroit, don't forget Detroit. They're a team to reckon with when you have young players like that. So the future looks pretty bright for that team as well, Jackie.
Those the Detroit Lions, the Green Bay Packers, with the Houston Texans on the top.
Those 3 are the teams that really made a big difference this year.
And don't forget about the Rams.
The Rams, too.
The only reason
the Rams are young.
The only reason why I have the Rams at the bottom of that top 3 I just named is because of the age of their quarterback. At some point in time, they're going to have to transition from Matthew Stafford, and whoever that next quarterback is is going to have to keep Puka and all these young Karen Williams, all these young guys going at the level that Matthew Stafford is.
Well, let's talk about one of the rivals for the Rams, and that's the San Francisco 49ers, Jackie. Are they as good as what everybody thinks this year? I mean, look at the way they've been playing. I mean, they had a skid there. 3-game skid.
3-game skid.
But now they're healthy. When they're healthy, are they unbeatable?
To me, Vince, and it's hard for me to say this because
I know. Forget being the LA Ram blocking those guys right now.
I hate the 49ers with passion. I hate the San Francisco 49ers with passion because they have caused me too much pain over the years.
Right.
But when you look at what Vince, I'm not sure there's a more physical team in all of pro football than the 49ers.
They can run at you.
They can run at you. They can stop the run. They can rush the passer with physical bull rushes and counters off of those physical moves.
But when you talk about all that,
they got one of the best linebackers in the game. That's
secondary. You can say all that, but it's the timing. It's the way they decipher the defense and know when and how and why to make those
different
plays
things.
up, okay,
right.
Jackie? That's where the success of that team is. And then when you have the players to top that off, to go out and punch you, and they have what, 3 or 4 or 5 guys could be Hall of Fame on that team, just on the offense.
Yeah.
Forget the defense right now.
Yeah, I know, but the defense is what we're talking about.
Well, defense too. Yeah, I mean they play defense.
I mean they went out and they brought the young man in from Philadelphia, gave him $90 million, and now they just brought in
Chase Young.
They brought in Chase Young, another young dynamic pass rusher. They got Ken Law, what's his name? Lark. What's the big what's the big defensive tackle's name?
Oh, yeah,
Doesn't
the
get a
one
lot
they
of
got
snaps.
from Philadelphia.
Arik.
Yeah.
He doesn't. No, not the one from Philadelphia. He was already there. This guy was already there, and he makes a lot of plays. Man, not a lot of sacks, but he puts pressure on the quarterback, and he plays the run real well. Big, tall, rangy guy. I'll call his name in a minute.
Yeah.
But they've done a real good job of acquiring talent at the defensive line, the linebacker spot, in their secondary. I mean, this is a very well coached team. They're smart, and it's just very difficult to watch all the success going on up in San Francisco for me.
So if you had $100, who would you bet to win the Super Bowl this year, Jackie? You don't know what you know. So would you put it on the?
Don't make me think. Don't make me think that way right now. It's not.
Well,
there's a lot of good teams.
I'm telling you.
I mean, you and I, we like Philadelphia. You know, Dak Prescott's doing a great job down in Dallas with bringing that team
They're coming
around.
on too.
I mean, the Rams are up and coming. You can't negate the Rams. Look what they did to Cleveland. San Francisco, I mean, it's just too many good teams at this point in time.
Yeah.
About a month ago, Vince, I felt like teams were coming out of that lethargic part of the season where they have to get used to the rigors of the sport because the preseason doesn't allow that like it used to. And so since that period of time, we've seen the elevation of the play of a lot of players, and subsequently the teams defensively and offensively have gotten better. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, health, and I think that will be a major concern for most teams. If these teams can stay healthy, then I think they'll have a really good shot of being very productive in the playoffs as we head closer to the end of the season, Jackie. So how about your OnPoint Week 13 losers, Jackie? Any
Well, I mean, we talked about the Chargers and the Patriots, you know, and how they have. I mean, that was, you know, the weather was awful, but it was an ugly scene in Foxborough.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you lose 3 straight games when your opponents score no more than 10 points on average.
Well, my question to you is, where do you pick up from here going towards the end of the season? You still have 5 games to play left. I mean, maybe your playoff chances are minimal. I mean, you can't make the playoffs, but don't you have to just dig down deep and just say, look, man, I got to go out and play the best I can, and let's see if I can reverse this trend that we've been having, and let's finish strong. Isn't that enough motivation for this team to go out and do well? To give it everything they have? I would.
I wish I could say that. And back in our day, I think that would probably be more relevant than it is today.
Yeah. Because
there's a number of guys that are on these rosters that aren't doing so well, particularly in New England, that are thinking to themselves, I'm out of here. I'm out of here. You know, if the contracts will come up, they have the option to leave and go and be free agents. So I don't think it's as prevalent now as it was when we were. Now, when we were playing, if we were in this situation, then we would be fighting for our lives. We would be fighting for our opportunities to be on the team in the year. We didn't feel that the coaching staff was going to change. They were going to keep the guys that fought till the end. And you know, some of the guys might be thinking that way, but I'm inclined to believe not so much because of the free agency. But if I were on a team and playing and had aspirations to continue to play, I would focus on my job. Remember, we saw the Raiders a couple of weeks ago, you know, when they fired Josh McDaniels, that all of a sudden the team was, you know, rejuvenated. And they played at a much different level. I think they've been playing at that level ever since the firing of him. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that people realize that if you're going to make changes at the top, you will make changes at the bottom. Yeah. And these guys don't want to be a part of those changes. So that's a big influencer of how, you know, of some of the performances that we're seeing from players who are having problems with their management and coaching staffs.
Right. So our last topic for tonight would probably be we have to mention the Washington Commanders, Jackie. They lost again last week. Not a lot of good news for Washington fans, but you know, Ron Rivera has been he took over the defensive coordinator position when they fired Jack Del Rio, and a lot, I think, of what's happened to this team since they let Montez Sweat go and Chase Young go on defense. Those were their 2 main key players on defense, Jackie, they just haven't been the same team since. And you know what? They have Sam Howell doing a pretty good job. You know, Eric Bieniemy's got their offense trying to roll a little bit, but you know, it's in a total team effort. And right now, the Commanders are just allowing too many yards, you know, on defense. I mean, 406 yards last week. I mean, it's crazy. The Dolphins just ran all over them.
7 yards a play.
It's
every
too
play
much.
that they ran, they got at least 7 yards.
Almost first down every down.
And
so
Washington has allowed 90 points in the last 2 games.
Where do you go from here? Where do you go from here?
Well, first of all, I mean,
is Ron Rivera?
Well, first of all, I think, Vince, this is my opinion. I might be wrong, but Ron Rivera was a defensive linebacker with the Chicago Bears, and in 1985 they had the toughest defense. They beat us with their defense, regardless of what was going on with their offense. They beat us with their defense. Ron Rivera has had a great deal of experience coaching in the NFL as a defensive mind. And he hired Jack Del Rio, who had a lot of experience as a defensive mind in the NFL as well. Right. But they were progressively getting worse and worse and worse on the defensive side of the ball, at least in Coach Rivera's mind. So what happened was, if you're sitting there and you're looking at this, you're going to say, well, we've got a defensive-minded head coach, and he's allowing the defense to play this poorly.
Right.
You know, maybe we need to consider changing. So I don't know where the urge came. Jack Del Rio, in my opinion, has been a very good coach over a number of years. I don't know where the urge came from to prompt Ron Rivera to make that change, but I'm inclined to believe that, you know, just because you're a head coach this year doesn't mean you'll be a head coach 3 years from now. And just because you're a head coach this year and not a head coach next year, it doesn't mean that you won't be coaching. It's your area of specialty. Ron Rivera's area of specialty is on the defensive side of the ball. And so for him to take over the defense and start calling the defense like he had done before in the past is him saying, okay, we're failing with someone else doing it. This is where I have been a professional all my life. I'm going to take this over and do it myself. Now, the key is going to be watch the numbers and see how their defense plays from this point on with the head coach who's a defensive-oriented guy calling the play. It's kind of like watching Brandon Staley here with the Chargers, a defensive-minded guy.
That hasn't been too good, though, Jackie, either. You know, I mean, Brandon's
a defensive-minded guy whose defense has been struggling. And a lot of people want to call for Brandon Staley's head because you say, how can a defensive coach allow his defense to play this miserably? And so, you know, you don't want that as a head coach.
And that's what we see what's happening in Washington.
Yes.
So I think there's a lot of room for improvement, obviously, but, you know, when you have an ownership now that they have in Washington, it's just going to be temporary because you're going to see something change.
There's going to be some changes.
There's going to be changes. They're going to be. They're not going to sit pat with this, and there's too much. There's too much of an incentive to win with that group, especially when it comes at the top and everything starts at the top and goes down.
And the nation's capital.
And
a number of years ago, there was no more successful professional football organization than the Washington Redskins.
Right.
Now they're the Washington Commanders, and I think the people in Washington, D.C. are probably a little bit impatient.
They're starving. Yeah, they're starving for another winning team.
Another winning team.
So they'll eventually get there, and you know, maybe not this year, but next year there'll be a lot of changes.
I think so too.
You know, that's going to do it for Week 13, the NFL regular season, and so we always encourage you to subscribe to our OnPoint channel, and also become a follower on our Instagram on.point.live. So,
Vince, before you close, can I say something to you?
Sure.
You know, I really enjoy doing the podcast.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it. And I really want our fans to know that, you know, when we talk football, it's like it's just like sitting down at a family meal, having a piece of pie and a glass of milk and just talking football.
Yeah.
I mean, how long have we known each other?
Long time, Jack. Long time.
We met in 1977.
Yeah, what's that like?
1977.
50 years, 40 years ago or something like that.
50 years. 50 years. First of all, I can't even believe that we're doing this on a podcast.
I know. It's like,
because whenever we get together at your house for meals or
do
whatever,
the same thing.
We do the same thing.
We watch football. We watch something. Yeah. Watch the kids playing.
So when I look at the podcast, I'm thinking, we're on TV.
I know.
But anyway, man, you're doing a great job.
Good
I
job,
appreciate
Jackie.
you, man.
Yeah.
We're having a good time.
You too, Jackie. Great comments, and we love sharing our thoughts with our fans out there. So we encourage you always to pick up the phone or pick up your laptop or whatever, wherever you're at, and watch our OnPoint live shows. So until next time, Jackie, we always want our people to stay on point.